Okay, hello everyone. So let us continue with the next thing, like remaining things. So I hope I am audible to all of you, and screen is also visible. Okay. So in the last session, we were talking about logistic regression, everyone, if you remember. So I told you why logistic regression or what type of problems logistic regression can solve. What is the equation of the logistic regression? These things we discussed. Right? Some mathematical equations of logistic regression we have seen. Then the reasons why a particular equation is used for logistic regression, like the sigmoid function we use for logistic regression. So what is the reason behind that? That point we talk. Right? Sigmoid function gives you the output always in between 0 and 1. So it gives you positive value. That is one of the main reasons, because logistic regression makes use of concept of probability. So the basic idea behind logistic regression is that, like for a particular row, if the let's say you can take any example. Let's suppose I want to create a model like a classification model. Let's say, as we have seen that logistic regression can solve classification types of problems. So I want to create a classification model to identify or to classify a patient as diabetic, okay, diabetic and non-diabetic. Suppose this is the problem which we want to solve, to classify a patient as diabetic and non-diabetic. So these are the two classes in our target column, output column or response variable. Now, what we will do is, like we train the model, let's say, and for each record, for each row, right, like whatever the symptoms are, so for each person, one record obviously will represent one person. So for each person, we will find out the probability of that person for diabetic or non-diabetic, whatever it is. So probability of the person to be diabetic, let's say if it is greater than or equal to 0.5, then that particular person belongs to diabetic class, otherwise belongs to non-diabetic class. So something like this logistic relation is also going to do. Now the question is how to decide this value 0.5. Is it 0.5 or something else? So that is nothing but threshold value. Okay. It's a threshold value. So how to decide about the threshold value? For that also one example is given anyway. Now I don't know how many people can remember that, but there is one example which is given there just to decide about which value of the threshold should be chosen. Right. So remember I have shown you example of obesity, right? So something like this. See, this I have already discussed. Sigmoid function is used because it is easy to find out the derivative of sigmoid function. Then sigmoid function always gives you values between 0 and 1. And it actually is a simple way of introducing non-linearity to the model. And this is the equation of sigmoid function. Sigma of t is equal to 1 upon 1 plus e raised to power minus t. This is the equation of sigmoid function. Okay. And yes, like that t can be replaced with b0, beta 0 plus beta 1x, and you can get this kind of equation for logistic regression. And after that, we have seen by applying some simple mathematical operations, we can come up with a logit function finally. Just to show you that logit function is linear in terms of x, that is input. And then the equation for prediction and cost, this also we seen yesterday. And that same thing can be extended for multiple logistic regression area. Okay, and here I told you that here it is suggested that if there is a multinomial logistic regression, then instead of going with the logistic regression, generally people prefer making use of some other algorithms, because there are far better algorithms as compared to logistic regression for multi-class classification. Logistic regression is basically very good for binary class classification, we can say. Okay. And then how the algorithm learns, right? These are some mathematical equations given. E of h of xn comma yn, e is nothing but error, H of xn is nothing but the output given by your model, and this is the original output. So with the help of that log n, right, log equation, same thing is written here as well. Okay. And finally, we just try to take a derivative just to decrease the error, to find out the minimum of the error, and we get something like this. That is only shown. And the most important point we discussed yesterday was evaluation of a classification model. Not only linear regression model, but any model everyone. Whatever maybe the model is, right? So all the classification models will be evaluated with the help of all these things: accuracy, recall, precision, F1 score, specificity, area under the curve, and receiver operator characteristics. It should be ROC, receiver operator characteristics. Now, ROC, EOC can be used when there are, let's say, more than one algorithm in your model. If we have used more than one algorithm, then ROC, EOC score can be used. And yes, in real time, as I told you, in real time actually we go with more than one algorithm. Like at least 5 to 6 algorithms we use for solving the same problem statement in real time. And to find out the best algorithm, best model created by a particular algorithm for a particular cluster, we use ROC EOC score. Okay, so maybe on the last day you will be able to find out that. I will show you an example of a project where we will be able to find out that we used more than one algorithm. Let's say 2 to 3 algorithms we used, and from those algorithms, like whatever the algorithm which has the highest ROC EOC score, that algorithm's model is going to be finalized. That's how we actually use it. So to find out all these things, everyone, we need something called as confusion matrix, and this is what we try to discuss actually. And talking about that threshold value, how the threshold value can be decided, that also we will try to see with the example. Okay. So I hope everyone you got what is confusion matrix. It's like it is having all these values: true, positive, true, negative, false, positive, false, negative. And yes, we have already discussed this particular thing with the help of a simple example, right? If there are 500 patients, then what to do, right? Like what type of a data you will be getting actually, right? So here you can see even this particular thing. Yesterday only we have seen, like there will be some values, right? I have given an example of, let's say, diabetic, non-diabetic patients. So if true positive is, let's say, out of 500 patients, let's say true positive is 300. So what is the meaning of that? It means your model is saying that there are 300 patients who are diabetic, and actually they are diabetic. That means your model is true about positive results. Everyone, going and getting the confusion matrix is not difficult. The most important part is how to interpret that. That is what we discussed in the last session again. That's why I told you that many people have seen they have confusion about confusion matrix. I hope those who are present in the last session, it must be clear now. But still, if you have any doubt, you can always ask. Okay. So this particular thing, everyone, we have seen already. And because why confusion matrix is important? Because everything, whether it's accuracy, precision, recall, F1 score, ROC, EOC score, whatever it may be, you can see that everything is based on confusion matrix only. So you can even try to check that with the help of the formulas which are present. Because whatever accuracy requires, like accuracy requires true positive, true negative, and false positive, false negative. So all these values you will get from where? You will be getting it from confusion matrix. And that's why confusion matrix is very, very important in. Because if you do not have confusion matrix, you cannot find out the accuracy, or maybe you cannot find out the precision or the recall. Okay? That is the thing. And again, as I said, that there is something called as ROC EOC score, which will decide the best model, right? So for getting that particular best model also, you need confusion matrix. That's why it is very, very important. That's why confusion matrix is important. So hope you got that point. I am just revising everyone. I am just trying to revise whatever we discussed in the last session. Accuracy, this is the formula: true positive plus true negative. We have the true positive plus true negative plus false positive plus false negative. And then recall we have seen, precision we have seen, what is the relationship between the recall and the precision also we talked about. And you cannot have both the values high at the same time. And that's why there is something called as F1 score. Because we already seen the trade-off between precision and recall, right? As you can see, with increase in the recall, there is a drop in the precision from this particular diagram. That's what we discussed, and that's why we come up with something called the F1 score. And F1 score is just a harmonic mean between precision and recall. And I told you that if there are two variables like A and B, if there are two variables, then harmonic mean between two variables, the formula is 2 divided by 1 upon A plus 1 upon B. This is how we actually find out the harmonic mean between the variables A and B. Okay, so same thing actually we applied it to precision and recall. So as F1 scores the harmonic mean between precision and recall, and that's why we have used, like, we got this particular formula. If you just try to arrange it properly, you will be able to see this particular formula. So that is how you can find out F1 score. So ideally the value of the F1 score should be as high as possible. Okay, but still everyone, I'm repeating again, like, still if someone is having a doubt, you can always ask. These are the things which we discussed in the last session only. I'm just trying to show that, like, these are the things which we might require later on, and at that time there should not be any difficulty. Okay, everyone. And then now coming to this ROC AOC score. So for that, what we require is true negative rate and false positive rate. True negative rate and false positive rate is what this is what is actually required, right? Now see specificity or true negative rate. Specificity we have already seen, it is true negative divided by true negative plus false positive. And if you go with this false positive rate, true negative rate, we have this, that is specificity, and false positive rate can be 1 minus specificity. That is false positive divided by true negative plus false positive. Now why do we require these things? Why do we require the values of this? Because we need to come up with ROC, EOC. Now what is ROC? A receiver operator characteristic. So say everyone, now in the last session I just tried to take it in short. Today I will just tell you what it is. See, ROC EOC score, I told you, it can be used whenever you want to decide which model should be selected as the final model for the cluster. Because in real time what happens is there will be more than one algorithm which will be used to solve the same type of problem. Okay. Now probability always lies between 0 and 1. 0 means no probability and 1 means 100%, right? Right? But while working with probability, we seldom get 0 and 1 probability, right? Very less number of times we get exactly 0, exactly 1 probability. We will be getting the probability like 0.01 or 0.1 or 0.02 and so on, right? So if we are not getting binary probability like 0 and 1, how are we actually determining the class in our classification problem? And that's why there comes the concept of threshold. This is what I was talking about. There comes the concept of threshold. So how to decide about the value of the threshold? That's what I want to tell you. In the last session yesterday, I just shown you this particular diagram, but we will discuss this particular thing in detail. And then we will move to the implementation of logistic regression for some data set. The way we done it for linear regression. Now see everyone, you can see that we have been given like this kind of a data. Okay, so these horizontal lines, if you look at it carefully in this particular diagram, these horizontal lines they represent different values from 0 to 1, right? 0, 0.25, 0.5, 0.75 and 1. Let's suppose our problem is to identify obese people, right? Obesity. So the green markers, I will write it down here. Green means a person is obese. Okay, green means a person is obese. And red means the person is non-obese. Let's say the red means the person is non-obese. This is what has been given to us. See everyone, why are we discussing this particular thing? Because we want to understand how the threshold value is going to be decided. Like I told you that if the probability of a particular person being diabetic is greater than 0.5, then that person belongs to diabetic class, otherwise non-diabetic class. But who told us that the probability value should be compared with 0.5 only? So that is dependent on threshold. And how to decide upon that particular threshold value, this is what I am trying to tell you everyone. This is how internally it is going to work, because logistic regression, as we have seen, it works on the concept of probability. So how to decide? Like see, as I told you, probability of person being diabetic, if it is greater than or equal to 0.5, then that particular person belongs to diabetic class, right? Otherwise, that particular person belongs to non-diabetic class or non-diabetic. Fine. This is the basic idea. So we want to decide what should be the threshold value. This is what we want to decide everyone. Okay. That's why this example is given. Okay. Now green is obese people and let's say red is non-obese. So our confusion matrix will depend on the value of the threshold chosen by us. So that's what we want to do. Let's suppose we'll start with this. 0.25 is the threshold value. Okay, even 0.25 is the threshold value. Now, if you take 0.25 as a threshold value, everyone just see this. 0.25 if you take it as a threshold value, what will happen is we will try to come up with the value of true negative, true positive, false positive and false negative. Okay, we'll try to come up with the values of all these things because confusion matrix will have all these values. So if 0.25 is the threshold value, what do you mean by this? It means like the results of our model will depend on this threshold value. How? See, green nothing but obese people, right? If we take 0.25 as a threshold value, it means what? It means our model is saying, see, whatever the results which are greater than 0.25, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So it means our model is saying that there are 3 people. So see, our model is identified. Obviously, there are four people, but we know that green nothing but obese people. So it means our model is saying that about positive results, it is saying that there are 3 people who are obese, and yes, actually they are obese. Why am I saying that our model is saying this? Because threshold value is 0.25, and whatever the records, like whatever the values which are above 0.25, that is nothing but obese, and below that will be non-obese. So out of all these, actually obese are 3. So our model is saying that there are 3 people who are obese and actually they are obese. That's why true negative is 3 if threshold value is 0.25. Okay, so sorry, true positive is 3, not true negative. It should be true positive because our model is true about positive results. And what about negative results? So our model is saying that there are true negative, right? So if the probability is below 0.25, then non-obese. So it means our model is saying that there are 1 and 2 people. Actually, it has identified 3 people as non-obese, out of which actually non-obese are 2. So our model is saying that there are 2 people who are non-obese and actually they are non-obese. That's why the value is 2. And then what is false positive? That means your model is false about positive results. It means your model is saying that there are 2 people, this and this. Okay, there are these 2 people who are obese, but actually they are non-obese. So our model has identified 2 people incorrectly. And then here also our model is saying that there is one person who is non-obese, but actually that person is obese. So again we can see that 5 plus 2, 7, 8. Do we have 8 values? Yes, total we have 8 values. So this is going to be your true negative, true positive, false negative. Okay, just check the review. Now this is for 0.25. So what will happen in this case? That means my confusion matrix is going to look like this. These are the actual values: positive, negative, diabetic, non-diabetic, positive, negative, diabetic, non-diabetic. Okay, so true negative is 2, sorry, true positive is 3, true negative is 2, and false positive is 2, and this is 1. This is our confusion matrix area. This is our confusion matrix. But this confusion matrix we got it for which threshold value? 0.25 threshold value. So like this we can come up with different confusion matrices for different threshold values. Okay. Now this is one confusion matrix for 0.25. So similarly, one can come up with different confusion matrices. Now see everyone, what we have done is we have drawn a graph between false positive rate and true positive rate. See. So what are these markers? Each marker represents one confusion matrix with respect to some threshold value. Okay. Each marker represents one confusion matrix with respect to different threshold values. Now what we wanted to discuss, everyone? We wanted to discuss that why 0.5 is chosen as a threshold value. or why 0.6 will be chosen as a threshold value, or why 0.25 is chosen as a threshold value, and so on. Why I will always go and check out that probability of a certain person for being diabetic is greater than or equal to 0.5 or not. Why 0.5? So how to decide that, everyone? See, all these markers are nothing but different confusion matrices for different threshold values with the help of different threshold values. So to decide the final threshold value, what we do is from right to left, right? This is false positive rate, okay, and this is true positive rate. So we decrease with wherever. So see, what we do is from right to left, we decrease in the FPR. We decrease in the FPR. Is there a decrease in the TPR? No. Then come from here to here. We decrease in the FPR. Is there a decrease in the TPR? No. And then come from here to here. We decrease in the FPR. Is there a decrease in the TPR? Yes, there is a decrease. So finally, you choose this particular value as threshold value. Threshold value. Okay. So this is how one can decide about the threshold value. This is what I was trying to tell you in the last session. But still, if anyone is having any doubt, please let me know. See, that's what is given here. That is the same thing which is given here. So I hope it is making sense to everyone. But still, if you have any doubt, as I told you, you can always ask. Fine. Anyway, right. This is what I was trying to tell you yesterday. And now, once we decide about the threshold value, what we can do is we can come up with area under the curve. Okay, receiver operator characteristics and area under the curve. So see, in general we use different classification algorithms, and we will get different receiver operator characteristics or corresponding algorithms having for the corresponding algorithms ROCs will be plotted. Different ROCs will be plotted for different algorithms. Now, which algorithm to choose now? So the answer is ROC curve is going to decide about that. So how it is going to decide, everyone? This is how it is going to decide. See, I was telling you that in the last session. Let's say this blue is nothing but KNN and this red is nothing but random forest. So this is ROC curves. These are ROC curves. Okay. So which ROC curve is going to be which algorithm will be decided? So this ROC curve is having some area under the curve. Let's say it is having 70% area, and this red one is having some more area in under this curve. So let's say it is having 80% area. So random forest is having more area under the curve as compared to KNN. So our best model for that particular cluster is going to be random forest. Okay, everyone? And in real time, do you need to go and plot this plot? No, actually, not at all. You can directly go and you can come up with something called as ROC underscore AOC underscore score. You find out this, and for whatever the algorithm this ROC AOC score is maximum, that algorithm's model will be our final model. This is how we make use of ROC AOC score to find out the best model. As I told you, I will be showing you in one of the projects how to make use of this. To get the best model. Okay, so that's what all the concept and theory part related to logistic regression issue. Now what I will do is I will try to show you an example here, everyone. So let me show you execution step by step. The way we seen the execution of linear regression. Same way I will try to show you the execution of logistic regression also. Let me go to that particular path. Just a minute. Fine. Okay, so what I will do is I will try to show you the data set, everyone. This is the data set. This is my data set. So I will go and I will check my working directory as usual. Okay. Yes, this is my working directory. And before this, maybe So this is what we want to see step by step review. So this is my working directory. Now I will go to my working directory and just make sure that this diabetes.csv file is present in my working directory. Right, as the same thing which we have seen in case of linear regression. So I will go to C user. C user, and let me see if it is present already. No problem at all. Otherwise, yeah. So diabetes.csv file is copied. Let me open that and show you. See this file. Let us open it. So hope everyone you are also able to do that. Like understand that. I will share this file with you because I will be showing you these things step by step, so you can also follow. Fine. This is uploaded. I will just share the link in the chat box later. Yeah. So that particular file is uploaded onto Drive. Now, if you also want to follow me, you can just go and download this particular file. Right? That is for linear regression. Logistic regression dataset. Okay. The logistic. Fine. Anyway, now here I am in my I will open the Jupyter notebook. Here I am. This is my working directory. So as I told you, we will go and we will try to create a classification model and then confusion matrix and everything one by one we will try to see. So now if you see this particular file, just take the data set, everyone. This is our input data, right? This is our training data and these are the input columns. Pregnancy is how many number of times pregnant, glucose level, blood pressure, skin thickness, insulin, body mass index, BMI, diabetes pedigree function, okay, and the age of the person and the outcome. These are all the things which are given here. Now, as I told you earlier that this is a logistic regression, and logistic regression can be used to solve classification type of problem. So, so see everyone, you can see that this pregnancies, glucose, blood pressure, skin thickness, insulin, BMI, all these are nothing but what? These are my input columns, right? Explanatory variables or independent variables, and this outcome is going to be our dependent variable or response target explained variable, whatever we call it as. Now the thing is, you can see that everything is already converted into numbers. Okay, so maybe client might not want to share that data with us. They do not want us to know what is the meaning of this diabetic, non-diabetic, whatever it is. So let's say 1 is diabetic, 0 is non-diabetic, let's say, or we can take any other thing, any label, no problem at all. So see everyone, these are all the features. These are all the features or the input columns And based on this, we need to, let's say, classify a patient as diabetic, non-diabetic. So 1 is diabetic and 0 is non-diabetic. Now, why everything is converted into number? Because that's a basic requirement, right? That's a basic requirement. So this is our output column. So standardization, normalization, and data should be numeric. This is our always basic requirement. So see everyone, these are all the features. I hope you got the point. You can see that we have been given more than 750 number of records. We have been given more than 750 number of records. And obviously there are going to be some problems in this particular data set everyone. You can check out that some of the values are directly zero. Blood pressure even also is zero. And you might be knowing, it's a very common thing. Blood pressure cannot be zero even, right? If the blood pressure is zero, that means that person is dead. That person is not alive. So that's why, see, now why zero values are there in this particular columns? The thing is that when client try to replace missing values, there are missing values in our data, and what client has done is, client has replaced those missing values directly with zero. They replace missing values directly with zero without giving any thought. Okay, because they might not be knowing that to train the model the data should be not having, the data should not be having missing values. So they should not be having even these values also. But they replace this one as directly with zero, and as this is zero, it has totally changed the meaning of the data. Like zero blood pressure, if it is, that means that person is not dead. If that person is not that, sorry, zero blood pressure is, that person is not alive, he is dead. And if that person is dead, how can one classify the patient as diabetic non-diabetic? Obviously, right? So it is not going to make sense having zero blood pressure or skin thickness and so on. So that particular thing also we need to take care of. Okay. And again, one more thing you can notice that glucose is like more than 100, let's say near to 200 and so on. Blood pressure is something like this, less than 100. Skin thickness is, you can see all the values. And insulin, you can check it. And BMI is very less values. And by diabetes pedigree function, again very less. We can see that all these values are not on the same scale. They are not on the same scale. So obviously we need to go and we need to apply something called as standard scaler also. Standard scaler, I have told you everyone, it is going to bring the values to the same scale. It is going to bring all the values to the same scale. That's what standard scaler is going to do. Right? I already given you the example. Go and go on taking the square roots of all these values, or maybe go on taking the logs. So we already know the library or the method that is nothing but standard scaler that will take care of us. Okay, everyone. So our problem is, like, given all these attributes, our model should be able to classify the patient as diabetic, non-diabetic. That is 1-0. This is what we want to see. I hope everyone has got or understood the data set itself. I hope everyone you got that. Okay. Now moving to this notebook, what I will do is I will import. I will do the necessary imports. Whatever the imports which are needed now, I will go and I will try to do those imports. Like in between everyone, if you have read out as well, please let me know. So see everyone, what I will do is I will import the pandas package. I need pandas package because I want to import that particular data set. So import panda. What I will do is I will use alignment for this SPD. So yes, it is imported, fine. Next package we will require is numpy as usual. Right? As usual we are going to require it. Import numpy also. Import numpy as yes, numpy again for linear algebra we need this. Okay? To create the arrays, to convert something into array. We are going to need numpy. As well as some can apply on arrays. That's why we need. After that, standard scaling will be need variable. So what I will do is still you just tab button press here. If you press tab button, it should show you some methods. So see, from sklearn pre-processing, I want to import this one, standard scalar. If I press tab button, it should autocomplete thing. Let me check. So standard scalar for what? For standardization of the data. Yes, it has auto-completed. Okay, and one more thing from the scikit-learn itself, I am going to import. So I press tab button here. Just a minute. So from sklearn I will show some methods. See this okay. This icon has changed now. So from sklearn now I am going to import the logistic regression itself. So there is a method called as linear underscore model. What I want to import? I want to import logistic regression. Let's see if I press tab button. Yes, it is going to autocomplete. So this is our actual algorithm. Along with this, definitely one can go and one can even import some regularization methods for sure. That's also possible. Okay. So standard scalar, pandas, numpy, and logistic regression is what we imported. I hope everyone has understood the reason why we need this. And obviously, for training the model will be trained based on data, right? Model will be trained based on data. And how are we going to train the model based on data? We will be dividing our data into training and testing. So I will need model underscore selection. From model underscore selection, I am going to import train. Yes, that's also fine. I will run it. Run it. Okay, so showing me problem. So spelling of input is wrong here. And then run. Yes, that is working fine. After that, what everyone, if you remember, in the last session we have like in logistic regression itself, we have seen something called as variance inflation factor. So from stats models dot something called as variance inflation factor. Okay, so that you will be getting it here from stats models dot stats dot outliers underscore influence. I am going to import something called as VIF, variance inflation factor. Can anyone tell me what is the use of VIF? Can anyone tell me what is the use of VIF? Like, if you people are listening me, I can say like today there are number is somewhat more as compared to yesterday. I know many of you are working, but what to do, right? Or maybe you might be doing already, everyone. As I already discussed it, but I can see that there are some new faces today, some new names today. I have already discussed this one. So those who are listening me from other side, if you are listening me, can you tell me what is use of VR? Anyone? At least so that I am comfortable that you are there and you are listening me, and I am not the only person who is talking. Anyone? Can you tell me? Chat box or even you can unmute. What is use of VR? That is the only purpose everyone why we discuss this particular thing in case of linear regression itself. Because I told you the things which I will discussing in case of linear regression, you will see that you are going to require those things in other algorithms also. Like here itself also you can see that in logistic regression itself you can see we require that variance inflation factor. Anyone? What is the use of VIF? No? Okay, fine. So no one knows the use of VIF. I am asking because I discussed it. Okay, discussed it already. That's why. No. Mr. Architan, it's not set of variance. What is the use of variance inflation factor? VIF. the set of variables actually. What are the use? Anyway, everyone see, here itself you will get the answer. Set of, like it's a set of variables. VI or variance inclusion factor can be used to detect if there is some multi-collinearity in your data. Multi-collinearity. If you remember, multi-collinearity is nothing but what? If one independent column is dependent on another independent column. Do you remember the example which I have given you? Age and experience. So let's suppose you are trying to create a model which is going to predict salary of an employee based on age and experience and some other columns, let's say. But age and experience themselves, they are related. Like as and when age is going to increase, obviously experience is going to increase. Right? So you should not take both the columns, you should take only one column. So if one independent column is dependent on another independent column, that means there is a multi-collinearity present in your data. And while creating the model, while training a model, there should not be multi-collinearity present in your data. Okay? Because otherwise your model will become overfitted model. And how to detect the multi-collinearity? With the help of VIF. This is one way to detect the multi-collinearity. Other way to detect the multi-collinearity is with the help of heat map, where we use correlation. So if the correlation for a particular variable is greater than or equal to 0.9 or less than or equal to minus 0.9, then there is a multi-collinearity present in data. And in case of VIF, if the VIF value is greater than 5, then there is multi-collinearity otherwise. So that's why we import this here. I will run it. So yes, it has imported properly. And now finally, I will talk about something called as like evaluation metrics. So which we've already seen. So from scikit-learn.metrics, I'm going to import the metrics like accuracy score, with the help of which you can directly find out R square statistics. Then you can even find out confusion matrix. Yes. And then ROC curve. ROC, yes. As you want to plot it, and finally ROC EOC score. Receiver operator characteristics area under the curve. Yes, it is fine. So yes, that's also be imported. And finally, I will import some other libraries, let's say for visualization. So I will import matplotlib. How we imported matplotlib.pyplot as PLT. This is for visualization. And maybe you might be knowing that there is more library for visualization, and that is nothing but Seaborn. Import Seaborn as SNS. And then finally run it. Okay, petition here SEABORN. Spelling should be correct. Now let's see. This star will go. Now it will run. So yes, it has run fine. So whatever the necessary imports, I thought like I have already imported all those things even. Whatever we will require in this particular hands-on, so everything is imported. And now we go and we try to import the data. So we read the data. Pandas.read_csv. It's a CSV file. Okay, and it's a CSV file. So I think I uploaded that into Drive, right? Let me check. I shared the link with you also, right? Yes, even I shared the link with you. Yeah, so why didn't you tell me measuring multivariable? Fine. So I hope like you people have that particular file into your working directory, everyone. Diabetes.csv file is there in your working directory. Now if you want to read it, what you can do is just go and write down the name diabetes.csv, and now see you'll be able to see the data. Yes, the complete data is imported. Just check it. All the 767 rows. So total 768 rows. 0 to 767. It means 768 rows and 9 columns are there. Right? Pregnancies, glucose, blood pressure, skin thickness, insulin, BMI, diabetes predictive function, and age. Now, in this case, everyone you can find out, and even I also told you that you will not find out any missing value anyway, because missing values client have already replaced the missing value.
दाखवायचं मी फक्त डिस्कस करायचं
Madam, can you just
नंतर मग काय म्हटले ना
Jayashree madam,
रिपोर्ट करायचं.
can you just mute? Thank you. So every that there are no missing values, but the thing is that missing values are already replaced by client with 0, and even that 0 is also going to cause us a lot of problem because it is meaningless. Having blood pressure as a 0 is meaningless everywhere. Having blood pressure as 0 is meaningless, and in blood pressure column also you have 0 value, which is not at all going to make any sense. So we will have to handle that, and we are going to handle that. Okay, how? Let's see. So what I will do is I will just try to assign all these data to a variable called as data. So data equal to this. Now everyone you know very well, right? The type of this particular variable is going to be what? Data frame. It is going to be a data frame. Now you can go and you can check the data. Maybe you can check first few rows if you want, right? First 10 rows, 8 rows, by default 5 rows, as we have already seen. So 10 rows I am able to see. Now you can see everyone, there are some zero values. Zero values here, zero values here. Here if it is zero value, no problem. But having zero value in blood pressure and other columns, it is not going to make any sense. That's why we'll handle that. Now everyone, if you remember, like see, if I go and if I try to check data dot is null, obviously I will not be able to see any missing value here. I will not be able to see any missing value, or maybe I can even go and add the missing value if it is the C. So to show you, no column is having any missing value. No column is having any missing value. Why? Because missing values are already replaced with 0 by the client. That's the thing, right? So as we want to create a model, so what I will do is, first of all, I will just try to understand data better. So I will do data or describe. If I go and if I run it, it will show me mean, mode, median, count, standard deviation, and everything. Just take it away. Right, so pregnancies column 768 records, glucose 768, blood pressure 768, and so on. Just check this area. Every column is having same number of records, no missing values. This is the average for every column. Standard deviation. Now you can see this median. Let's say median for glucose is 117, and minimum value is 0, and maximum value is 199. Now check out, 117 is nearer to 0 or 199. If it is nearer to maximum value, it means data is right skew data, otherwise data is left skew data. This also I told you everyone that in data or describe command, this is what we see. Similarly, blood pressure column you can check. So why am I telling you this everyone? Because this is one way to get some fair idea about distribution of your data, how your data is actually distributed. So in this case, blood pressure, you can see it is nearer to, but blood pressure is nearer to I think 72 and 122, right? So I think it is somewhat linear, somewhat normalized. If the median value 50 percentile value quartile 2 value, if it is nearer to maximum value, that means your data is rightly skewed data, positively skewed data. And if this value is nearer to minimum value, it means your data is negatively skewed data, left skewed data. That's what we have seen. And if it is at the equal distance from both, then we can say that it is somewhat normalized data. Right? I hope you will remember. And other things, yes, it has given standard deviation. Standard deviation is nothing but how much the values deviate on an average, how much the values deviate, all the other values deviate from the mean value, average value. That is nothing but standard deviation. So yes, we have seen, described everything. Now, as usual, what we will do is, we will, obviously, from here we got some rough idea about distribution. But we will go and we will try to plot the graphs, and then we will try to understand the distribution. So in the last session, I had showed you how to make use of those basic packages, right? So PLT.figure, I will give figure size equal to, let's say something like this, 20 by 25, right? I think yesterday also we used the same thing, and we can go and we can use some face color. The face color is white, okay. And then I will use a variable called as plot number. I want to plot some plots, so that particular variable is going to start with 1. And I will be using some for loop because I want to plot a graph for all the columns. So for column in this data frame, what I want to do is I want to check if the plot number variable value if it is less than or equal to 9, because I have 9 columns, as there are 9 columns in the data. If it is true, then go and create the axis like something like this, plt dot subplot. What is this, everyone? This is matplotlib package. This is matplotlib package. Okay. So plt dot subplot. What? So I want 9 plots, so 3 by 3, and then the plot number will change from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. Okay. First plot, second plot, till 9 plots it will go. Okay. So I am going to have access for all those things, and on those axes actually I am going to plot the distribution plot, dist plot. In new version it is called as dist plot, dis plot. So sns dot dist plot, that is distribution plot, for what? Data of every column. Okay, for every column I am going to do that. And then if you want to go and if you want to give some access, yes, you can go and you can give the plt dot x label, give the column name for x label, right? And if you want to have some font size for that, I think you should be working font size. This is nothing but what, everyone, like combination of matplotlib and c1 package is what I am making use of with basic Python. Finally, what I will do is I will just increase the variable plot number. So plot number plus equal to 1. It means plot number equal to plot number plus 1. And finally show that plot. So plt dot show, if you do, it will show you the plot. So what it will do is it will show you the distribution plot for all the columns: pregnancy, glucose, blood pressure, skin thickness, insulin, BMI, diabetes, metabolic function, age, and finally the outcome. Outcome is going to be categorical. So see, everyone, now if everything is right, I will go and I will shift enter, and then you can see this is star and this will change. If it is running fine, it will show yes distribution plot like this. So see, everyone, these are the distribution plots. Now, as I said, going and plotting is not difficult thing, but interpreting is what is very, very important. Okay? Interpretation is what is very, very important. So everyone, you can see pregnancies. Pregnancies, as you can see, it seems that pregnancies actually is right skewed data. Okay, pregnancies, it looks like that, it is right skewed data. And you can definitely notice that, see, from this particular output itself. As the median is, you can see in case of pregnancies, as the median is 117, and 117 is nearer to 119 as compared to 0. So if the median is nearer to maximum value, then it is right skewed data. And yes, it is right skewed data. See, this is right skewed data. Glucose looks somewhat normalized, but there is a problem here. Right? There is some skewness. Blood pressure also somewhat looks good, but again there is skewness. There is skewness in skin thickness, skewness in insulin. BMI somewhat looks good, but something yes. But in case of this BMI, there is a skewness is present. Diabetes, metabolic function, age also same, and outcome is out. Outcome is actually a categorical data, and that's why I'm able to see something like this here in case of outcome. So yes, everyone, you can see that this data is not that much normalized. The way we were able to see in case of linear regression, so it is not that much good. So there is some skewness in the data. In all the columns overall, if you check, there is some skewness present in the data. I hope now everyone understands skewness. Okay, I hope everyone understands skewness. So everyone, you can see that in every graph, every plot, if you can see, there is skewness. So if I go and if I try to just highlight that, see, everyone, on the right side there is skewness. Here there is skewness here on this side. Right? This is called as tail. So rightly skewed data, left skewed data, it is there. Right? It is there. So if there is skewness in the data, we will not send these data for training. Right? So what will be the reason? There might be different reasons. There might be outliers present in your data, or maybe a lot of zero values present in your data. So as I have already told you that few data columns like glucose, insulin, skin thickness, even if you go and if you check it out, so glucose, insulin, skin thickness, for these columns as well as BMI and blood pressure columns, they have zero values, which is not possible. Blood pressure cannot be zero everyone. If it is zero, it means that person is dead, and that's why it is not making any sense. So what you can do is, even you can go and you can search it, right? Blood pressure cannot be zero everyone. So let's try to deal with this particular data. What we can do now, we can either remove such type of data or simply replace that particular data with their respective mean values, average values. But as there are a lot of zero values, what we'll do is we'll go and we'll do the replacement part, because otherwise if I go and if I directly delete it, I might lose a lot of data, and that's why I will not directly go and delete those records. I will not do that. I will replace these things. So in all the columns, like if you can go and if you can check it out, in BMI also you have some zero values. In blood pressure you have zero values. In glucose, insulin, skin thickness. So what I will be doing is, let me show you. See, data of body mass index. If I go any parameter, okay. So everyone will be able to see that like there are 768 records, but there are zero values here. Even if you can go and you can check out in the original data, you will see that. Okay. So let's suppose if I do diabetes of data of BMI count. Let me check this. I just press tab button. So I am waiting for nothing like that. Okay, anyway, it is not showing me. Count underscore values. Check it out. Underscore values. Okay, I think maybe series, right? One column is going to be a series. That's why it is giving me problem. Body mass index, and there is a column called as glucose also. Right? I'm just checking it. Just a minute. Now if I go and if I try to check count underscore value, and then see. Okay, I think for data frame. To see whether I'll be able to get the count. No. Anyway, so what we can do is data of body mass index, it is having zero values. Now maybe like earlier it was having NA values, but client has replaced those NA values, missing values with zero. That is the problem. So what we'll do is wherever there is zero value, we will replace that particular zero value with what? With mean of the BMI. So I mean to say, if I insert the cell level, see everyone, what you can do is data of body mass index. If I want to find out the mean value of this, you can get the mean value like this, 31.99. Right? This is how you can get the mean value. So what I will be doing is I will be replacing the zero value with this mean value, because it's a continuous data. This particular column is having continuous data. So wherever there is a zero value, we are replacing that particular zero value with the mean of that BMI column, and I am going to assign all these things to the original column. Okay, that's why I will do data of BMI is equal to data of BMI dot replace zero with average of BMI, and then run. Okay, and then now if you go and if you check it out, you will not be able to see any zero value in BMI column. That's what we are going to do for all the other remaining columns also. So what I will do is I will just copy paste this, and instead of BMI now, what was another column? Blood pressure. So blood pressure cannot be zero. So I will do it for blood pressure. Simply go and replace this with this column name. Okay. And yes, here it is also. This is also what you can say quantity data, continuous data, and that's why we are replacing that particular thing with the mean. That's also fine. And then there is glucose column also, right? So in case of glucose also, it is the same case. So what I will be doing is I will be replacing zero value with the average value of glucose column. Then finally, data of, I will copy paste it, and data of, there is a column called as insulin. Yeah, insulin is also one column where there are missing values. So maybe I can go and I can check that out. No, even because the data distribution of the data. Okay, so just replace this with insulin. Insulin is name of one of the columns in the data set, right? Right. And now here also we are replacing the zero value with the mean value. And finally, I think there's one more column that nothing but scheme thickness. Correct. So just replace this BMR with scheme thickness. And it will do the same thing for this particular column also. Right. So I had done it for all the columns where I was feeling that there were missing values. Right. And now if I go and if I try to see this particular code, maybe you will not be able to see that much of difference, but our doubt was like maybe because of zero values we were getting some skew data, and that's why we just try to replace that zero values with mean value. Now if I go and if I run this again, I will be able to see some distribution here. So from this particular distribution, not exactly normalized data, but yes, now we can deal with we have zero values and data looks somewhat better as compared to earlier. It looks somewhat better. Now see, everyone, can you notice this? Can you notice this blood pressure? Just take it. In case of blood pressure, this part was there, right? In case of blood pressure, this part was there. Now, after replacing zero values with the mean, you can see some change for blood pressure itself. Just take it. It is not there. For blood pressure, that is not there. So this data looks better. We actually replaced the values wherever there was zero. We replace all those values with all those zero values with mean or the average of the point. Are you able to notice this? Are you able to notice at least that? Can you reply? Like whosoever is listening. Are you able to notice that? Yes or no? Yes, anyone? Are you able to notice that? Yes, no? I think like I know that maybe many of you are working, that's why maybe you might be busy in some other work. At least those who are listening, 4 or 5 people, anyone who is listening, are you able to notice this, whatever I am talking about? Yes, no. After replacing zero with the average of that particular column. See, in case of blood pressure. Same is the case with other columns also. Same is the case with other columns also. Anyone, single person, at least? Yes, no? Okay, fine. Fine. Let me check once again if I want to reply. No. Okay, no problem at all. Maybe those people who will go through recording, let's say, you will understand. Okay. Maybe I hope you will notice. So I think it seems that everyone is busy in their own work. Fine, I will complete on my side. Okay. As a part of this, I will complete it. Anyway, but it would be good actually if participants also respond and they also take a test. like I have another session at Vishwakarma University, so there are like 50, 60 participants. So those participants, they ask questions, right? So it also creates interest for me and keep me engaging. That is the only reason why I'm asking you that if someone is not there, right? Okay, I think I got one reply. Okay, thank you, Mr. Abhijit. Then at least I got one reply. Fine. Fine then. Anyway, no problem. Okay, I will post my code in the chat. Yeah, fine. Okay, so whatever I done till now, I will just write down. Like, I will just copy paste in the chat box. You have, you already have that particular file. So this is what all the import statements I have done. Okay, and then this is how I rate that particular file. Just go and maybe in your case, if it is giving you any error, make sure that you install the package. Okay? Make sure that you install that particular package. And then if you go and if you try to check the type of that particular variable, you will be able to find out that, yeah, no problem at all. And that's why you can try it later on also. If it is not possible for you to try it right now, don't worry. Maybe you can try it later on also. I'm just pasting that particular code in the chat box. Fine. Packages are already installed, no problem. But you can directly copy and paste now. I think this will not take much time. The only point of showing you each and everything is because same thing you will understand everyone. Same thing you will find out that you go and you apply in other algorithms also. Flow. I just want you to make aware about the flow. And yes, all these statements, right? Data of BMI we find out, and we replace zero value with the average value of every column. So this is for body mass index. This is for blood pressure. Simply replacing the zero value with average value of that respective column. That's what I'm doing. The same is with the glucose column also. Just go and simply run this. And you will notice that there is a change in the distribution. The distribution plots for some of the graphs, some of the columns will be same is with the case for insulin also. And okay, sir. If you are doing that is good. Fine. And what I done is I actually pasted this particular code is exactly the same, whatever we done earlier. I am just cross checking whether I am able to see the same plot or not. Okay. Anyway, so hope at least one person is doing that. Fine, no problem. So let's go forward and let's try to see the next thing. So yes, we got like the data as compared to earlier looks better. Okay, it looks better as compared to earlier. Now, what is the next thing? We want to see whether there are outliers also present because still there is some skewness in the data. So what I will do is I will try to check out are there any outliers present in the data. Okay. So how to do that? I will use figure and axis object. Okay. This is like in case of matplotlib generally we do. So plt dot we make use of subplots. This is a method. It's a part of a basic Python again. Then what I will do is I will give some figure size. So FIG, SIZD is the argument here. And then let's say the figure size is, let's suppose I will give it as a tuple 15, 10, 15 by 10. Okay. So if I go and if I just run this, you will be able to see a figure of this size again. Okay, that is the meaning. Now on this particular box, I want to plot that particular plot, and that is nothing but box plot. So SNS dot box plot. This is very important plot, everyone, which gives you a very good idea about outliers in your data. Minimum value, maximum value, 25 percentile, 50 percentile, 75 percentile, right? And minimum, maximum, that is 0 percentile and 100 percentile, and median also. So in my case, data is actually the whole data I am passing, and width, if you want to give, you can give, let's say anything you can give, 0.5 I will give here, and axis I want to make use of this AX variable, right? So and then the something called as flyer size also there. Let's say 3. Okay. And then if you go and if you run this, you'll be able to see the box and whisker plot everyone for all these columns. You'll be able to see. If I go and if I increase the flyer size, let's say 5. Now see everyone, this notations like this marker size is increasing. Just check it. If I go and if I make it as 9, see that size is increased. Right? That size is increased. But I think it will be better if we have it as let's say 3. See? So all these plots are nothing but called as box plot. Box plot for all the columns. Now I hope you know how to interpret box plot, or it is also called as box and whisker plot. So generally box and whisker plot looks like this area. Okay, box and whisker plot looks like this. So this is 0 percentile, it represents. This is 25 percentile, this is 50 percentile, this is 75 percentile, and this is 100 percentile. 0 percentile is nothing but minimum value, 100 percentile is nothing but maximum value, 50 percentile is nothing but the median. Okay, and we also call it as quartile 1, quartile 2, and quartile 3. And these are nothing but what everyone? These are nothing but outliers. Okay, outliers. So from this particular box and whisker plot for every column, everyone you can see that we have some outlier values in pregnancies column. There are no outlier values in glucose. There are some outlier values in blood pressure. There are a lot of outlier values in insulin and other columns also you can check it. Okay. And now everyone you can see that, and obviously for outcome there are only two values, right? Two repeated values. Now everyone you can see that as there are a lot of outlier values in case of insulin. So how do we actually handle the outlier values? We simply remove the data. Maybe you can see that in every column we have outlier values like more than maximum value. So what we will do is we will try to remove the top 10%, 8%, 2%, 1%, 5%, whatever it is. Top percent data, top 1%, 10%. So in case of pregnancies, maybe we will remove let's say top 1% or 2%. In case of blood pressure, maybe 2%, 3%. In case of insulin, maybe 10%, 5%, 8%. It depends. It's a hit and try method. Okay. That is what we are going to do now. Right. So how to do that? Let me show it to you. So we are going to find out percentile for that. Okay. We are going to find out percentile for that. So those who are executing, I will just copy paste this particular code and copy this and paste in the chat box. This is the code to get the box and whisker plot for your data, for all the columns in your data. Okay. Fine. Now, how to remove outlier values or how to handle the outlier values? As I told you, we are directly going to remove the outlier values. So how to do that? Let's try to see that particular. We find out quantile or percentile efficiency. How to find out? Data of, you can see pregnancies column is having few outlier values. There are less number of outlier values, but yes, there are outlier values. So what I will be doing is data of pregnancies. Okay, there are some outlier values in this case, in this particular column. I will find out quantile. Let's say I want to remove top 2% of data from pregnancies. Now, who told me to remove top 2%? No one. No one told me. Just by looking at the outlier values, I can feel that maybe I can remove top 1% or 2% data because there are very few outlier values. So maybe I can go with 1% or 2%, whatever it may be. Not fixed. I told you already. So data of pregnancies dot quantile. Quantile is like percentile. Okay. So what percentile I want to find out? See, actually percentile divides your data into 100 parts, quantile divides data into 4 equal parts, quarter. Okay. So I am going to find out 98 percentile of pregnancies column. So 98 percentile is at 12. I hope everyone understand the meaning of the word percentile. I will not go into the deep of that particular term now. I am expecting that now everyone knows this. What I will do everyone, I will assign that particular value to a variable called as q. So the value of the variable q is now what? The value of the variable Q is 12 because 98th percentile of pregnancies column is 12. Now what we will do is, as we want to remove top 2% of data, so what we will do is, in our original data, that is updated data we will be having, in the data we will consider all the values which are less than or equal to 12. Only those values we will take. If the value is not less than or equal to less than 12, that means all the values less than 98th percentile value, only those values we will include in our original data. So what I will do is, I will create a new variable, that is data underscore cleaned. Data underscore cleaned is equal to what I said, all the values are less than Q, only those values we will consider here. So see, first of all, data of pregnancies which are having value less than Q, only these values I want. So I need to go and I need to index it like this, data of these values. Okay, only show me those values from this which are having value less than Q, that is 12. So everyone, now you can see that before going and removing the data dot shape, number of rows we have 768. Now what am I doing? From my data, like with the help of these pregnancies, whatever the values which are less than 12, I am not going to consider those values. So to data underscore cleaned variable, those records will be added where pregnancies is less than Q. Okay, let's see this. Run it. And now if I check data underscore cleaned dot shape, 745. That means 768 minus 745. Many number of outlier values were there in case of pregnancies column. That is the mean. Okay, that is the mean. As we have considered 98%. Okay. Now how many number of rows are there? 745. Okay. So wherever pregnancy's value was greater than 12, all those rows were removed. Same thing now I am going to do it for. So I hope you got this point. Those who are doing, I will just send the code in the chat box. Just check it out. Yes, 23. Yes, that's exactly right. Okay, and this is what we have done. And now you can check 7 plus 23 values are there. Now same thing I am going to do it for other columns. Let's say BMI. In case of BMI also you can see even BMI body mass index. There are few outlier values. So for BMI column also I will be doing the same thing. What I will do is Q is equal to, what I will do everyone, from data underscore cleaned. Now because data underscore cleaned is my data. See everyone, I hope you are getting my point. Data underscore cleaned is my updated data. Let's check this out. Okay, here I have 745 rows. Because some of the rows are removed. Where pregnancies was having value greater than 12. Those values are removed. So what I will do is data underscore cleaned of body mass index. And for this I will find out the quantile dot quantild. Now maybe I can go with, let's say, 99 percentile. So that value will be assigned to Q. That value will be assigned to Q. Okay. And then what I will do is data underscore cleaned is equal to data underscore cleaned of BMI. Data underscore cleaned of BMI, it should be less than Q. Okay, it should be less than Q, and I need to go and I need to index on the basis of that particular thing. That's how it is. Now if I go and if I run this, now if I go and if I check data underscore cleaned dot shape. Now see everyone, 745 minus is whatever it is, you will get 737. That means 8 values, 8 outlier values were there in case of BMI. Why 8? Because like we are considering the percentile value as 99 percentile. Okay, so we are removing top 1% of data. We are actually removing top 1% of data. Now same code I will write down everyone for all the other columns. What is the name of other column? Skin thickness. Right? So here also skin thickness. Skin thickness is also having very few outlier values, so I will keep it as 99 only and then run it. Now you can go and you can check data underscore cleaned dot shape. Obviously number of rows are reduced again, 728. That means 9 values are there which are outlier values. But in case of out of all these things, if you check everyone, insulin is having a lot of outlier values. So in case of insulin, this percentile value is going to increase. Or like obviously 5% of data, 6% of data will try to remove. So that's what I will do is, let's see if I want to do it for insulin. If I want to do it for insulin, then maybe I will consider to remove top 5% of data. So 5% means I will make it as 0.95. And this also, okay, anyway. So whatever is the top 5% of data, it is going to remove. So a lot of rows are going to be removed now. Now, let me go and let me run this. And now let me check data underscore clean. Shape. Now see everyone, 690. So 728 minus 690, whatever it is, 38 values are there, like which were there, which were removed because of that particular column. Okay. Now next column is after insulin, there are other columns also there. So diabetes pedigree function is there, and then age is also there. Diabetes pedigree function and age, these two are removed. So I will do the same thing for it. Diabetes pedigree function here, okay, and here also diabetes pedigree function. Now in diabetes pedigree function, there are very few values which are outlier values. So I will do it as 99% and then simply run it. Now if you check data underscore cleaned the shape, 683. Okay, so 690 was the 13 values again, and finally age column is also there. So age column, if you check this, age here, so age here. Now for age, again 1%, top 1% of data I am going to do, and finally I am going to get data underscore cleaned shape. So 674 rows are there in my case. 674, and now once again I will go with distribution plot, because we were having a doubt that maybe because of outlier values the distribution is not looking good. That's why we just try to handle outlier values. Now you go, now you run, and then again you will be able to see distribution plot. Obviously that will look somewhat better as compared to earlier one. Not exactly 100 percentile, 100% normalized, but somewhat better. So data looks much better now than before, and we can actually start our analysis with this particular data, as we don't want to lose important information, right? If our model doesn't work with accuracy, we will come back and we will try to do more pre-processing. That is for sure. So what we'll do is we'll divide our data into input and output. So see everyone, data underscore cleaned. This is what I will be making use of now. Okay. And before this, in case of data underscore cleaned, everyone, you can check that I have output column. So everything I have, right? So what I'll be doing is data underscore cleaned. From this I am going to drop one column. So maybe data underscore cleaned dot drop, and here columns equal to, I want to drop output column. So the name of the column is outcome. Okay, name of the column is outcome. This particular column I am going to assign it to X. That means all the columns other than output column I am going to assign it to X. You can check it out. Outcome column is not there, right? And next what I will do is Y is equal to data underscore cleaned of outcome column. Okay, so this is going to be our Y. So we divided our data into input and output. Now the next thing is what we can do is we can see the relationship between the input and the output columns or the variables. So what I will do is I will simply copy this particular code, and instead of distribution plot I will try to come up with scatter plot or maybe some other plot like strip plot. The only one change you need to make is SNS dot, let's say I will go with strip plot, which is similar to scatter plot. So plt dot subplot, okay, here I have done. So instead of this particular thing I should be doing it as X, because X is our input, right? And if the plot number is then equal to 9 and plt dot subplot 3 by 3 and SNS dot strip plot. And there will be no need of this because strip plot is going to have 2 dimensions. Okay? And then so you will be able to see a strip plot which will show the relationship between different columns. So okay, I think I made some mistake here. Let me check. So what I will do is for column in X, what is our X? All the input data, right? Okay. Fine. So for column in X, the plot number is then equal to 9, X is equal to plt dot subplot, which is fine. SNS, okay, sorry. Here I am doing mistake. I should have given the output and input variable, right? X of all the column. This is how it should be. And then now it will show the relationship between input and the output variables. So you can see again pregnancy outcome, glucose outcome, blood pressure outcome, and so on. You are able to see the relationship between all these things. So let's say 0 1 0 1 0 1 is showing, right? So 0 is diabetic and 1 is non-diabetic, let's say. Okay, or 0 is non-diabetic, 1 is diabetic. Whatever you can check the relationship between glucose and the output and blood pressure and the output. Right? So maybe you can see that if the blood pressure is increasing, glucose level is also increasing. If the glucose level is increasing, blood pressure is also increasing, right? And so on. Different relationships you can actually see. It's not like linear exactly, right? So you can see. Otherwise, one could have gone with the logistic regression, scatter plot also in this case. That's also possible. Scatter plot is strip plot is actually similar to scatter plot. It's your choice. You can go with anything. And now the next thing, everyone, what I will do is I will directly go and try to call standard scalar. As usual, I will go and I will create an object of this the way we created in linear regression. So scalar is equal to standard scalar. I will do, and then x underscore scale. Okay, so I will create a variable like x underscore scale is equal to scalar dot to fit underscore transform. What we want to transform? All the input data, and it will standardize my data. Don't worry about the warning. If you really want to see the scale data, you can check this out. This is how the scale data is going to look like. It is going to be an array. And yes, for checking out multi-collinearity in the data, everyone, what I can do is I will create an empty data frame like this. This one we have already done, everyone. Okay. See, VIF is going to be an empty data frame like this. Then I want to go and I want to add one column like VIF. I will add here. Okay. So in this column, what I want VIF value for all the columns. So variance inflation factor is a method which we have already imported, and for what data I want it for x underscore scale, comma I, where I is going to change for some I in range of that we will be getting the shape of this particular x underscore scale. X underscore scale dot shape of 1. So this is going to give me the VIF value. So if I go and if I try to check it out, I will be getting only one column. That is all the VIF values. But it is not readable. I don't know for which column what is the VIF value. So what I can do is VIF of, I will be adding some column called as features. VIF of features equal to x dot columns. Now there will be names assigned to all the values. So you will be having one more, and now your VIF data frame is going to look like this. So you can see that for every column there is no VIF value which is greater than 5. As a VIF, see, I already told you, right? If the VIF value is greater than 5, that means there is a multi-collinearity because of that particular column. But as we do not have any VIF value greater than 5 for any of these features of the columns, that means there is no multi-collinearity present in our data. There is no multi-collinearity present in our data. So it means we are good to go. Right? All the VIF values are less than 5 and are very low. That means no multi-collinearity. Now we can go ahead with fitting our data to the model. And before that, obviously, we need to split our data into training and testing. I hope you know this. See, right? We already done it. Train, test, split. If you don't know it, just write down 10 test split. Shift tab here, and you can go to the example. You can go to the one example which they have already shown here. Here and this one, and copy this. So simply go copy this particular example. Go here and paste it here. Now remove this dot dot dot, and yes, now what you can do is, maybe if you want these things everything in lowercase, you can. X train, X test, Y train, Y test, train test split. Then in this case, instead of X, we should be using X underscore scale because that is our input data, right? Y is our output. Test size, I will do it as 25, 75. So 25% of data I want testing, and obviously it means remaining 75% is training. Maybe this number can be anything. I will do it as, let's say, 55. This will decide how much randomness you want in your data. That's the only thing, right? So yes, this is how we can go, and you can write down the trained test split very well. So how do we see X and Y value? It means what? Which is now the madam is okay, you are getting accounts, fine. Okay, yeah, Mr. Abhijit, what are you asking? How we see X and Y value in this? I am not getting. X and Y value is what? See, X and Y value is, this is my input. Okay, and if you want to see X and Y value, you simply go and type X. That's it. See, here we have done. We split our data into input and output. Somewhere here we split our data into input and output. See, this is my X and this is my Y. So if you simply type X, you'll be able to see all these things. And if you simply type Y, now you'll be able to see all these things. I hope you must have done this in your case. If not, just maybe you can type down copy paste here. Are you getting, Mr. Abhijit? And are you getting? This is our X and this is our Y. And from now that X, we just scaled it down. That X value, we simply scaled it down. Now, variable which I have used after scaling it down is X underscore scale. That is the variable name which I have used. See this one. So I use standard scalar, scalar.fit underscore transform. This is what I have used actually. Fine, right? And we have also be checked, and then yes, this is how we are going to split our data into training and testing. So I have done 25% testing, and obviously it means 75% is training. So if I go and if I run it now, yes, now you can check it out. Obviously, as per expectation, you will be getting all these values. So if you go and if you try to check the shape, so how many number of records were there? We are about 6 something, let's 6 after deleting. So whatever is the 75% of that value we will be getting here. x underscore train. Okay, similarly, remaining 25% is x underscore test. Okay. 169 is the remaining 25%. Obviously, column number is same because it's training data. Right? Input data. Similarly, y underscore train, it should have 505 rows, like 505 values, 505 values, and y underscore test, it should have 116 values. Not check if I try to check it out. Yes, 169 values. So yes, we divided our data into training and testing, and finally, what we generally do is we go and we try to call the algorithm. At the time of plot, I'm not getting. You want label or what? If you want only label, you just do it like this: x label or y label. You just go and you just try to do x label and y label. Is this plot, if you are asking, see, this is my y value, and column is what? Column is a variable. So this variable is, this column is going to vary as per the x value. In x, how many number of columns we have? 8 or 7 columns, whatever it may be. According to that, that value is going to vary. So for column in x, so first column, second column, third column, fourth column, fifth column, and so on. This is how we are given. The y-axis and x-axis. Y is nothing but our outcome column, right? That's why everywhere you will be able to see x-axis has become y value, and all the input columns has become like we have shown it on y-axis. That's how we have shown. I hope this is what you are asking me. X and y. Okay, fine. Yes. Yes. Now the last step is what, everyone? Now go and call the logistic regression. Logistic regression, and create the object of that. So suppose the object is, let's say, log underscore regression is equal to this. So if I try to show you log underscore regression, now it is something like this, with default values available, with some default values. Okay. Now what we want to do is we want to train the model. So how to do the training? Based on training data we want to do it. So log underscore regression dot fit. Whenever we use dot fit method, it means where we are actually showing it data. We are showing the data to the machine. The X-train, input training data, and output training data we are going to show. Okay, and from that it is going to learn. Don't worry about the warning. Okay, don't worry about the warning everyone. So that's it. Your model is trained now, everyone. Now it's time to go and save the model. How to save the model? In the last session also we have done it. You can go and you can make a pickle package. So import pickle and open the file. So import pickle, and maybe we can go and we can create some file. With is the keyword actually. With keyword is going to take care to open the file and to close the file. Automatically it will take care. So what I will do is I will try to create a file with this name, model logistic regression. Okay. Model underscore logistic regression, something like this. Model underscore logistic regression dot sav. You can save machine learning model with dot sav extension also. So what will happen if that file is present there? It will open. Otherwise, if it is not present, it will not open. If we try to open the file in the read mode, but what I will do is I will try to open this file in the write mode and binary mode. Write mode means if the file is not present, it is going to create that file as f. F is like a pointer. Right? And then what I will go to do is pickle dot. I am going to dump everything in that particular file. What everything? The model logistic underscore regression, comma f. F is nothing but that file. That's it. If I go and if I try to run this, so you will see in my current working directory, if I go, you will see that this a model with this name is going to be created. So if I go to C user here, you will be able to see what was the name here, the model for logistic regression. So see, as you can see, model for LOR. This model is created 24 December and the current time. This is our model. And even if you want to save some standard scalar also, you can save that one also. So with open, if you want to like save that particular thing also, whatever we are doing in case of standard scalar, you can do that. See, STAND standard scalar dot SAV. If you want to save this particular file also, you can write and binary note. So obviously, as variable is f, and simply go and tickle dot done. Now what we create a variable called a scalar. That's it. Dump it here, and you'll be able to see standard scalar.scav file also created in our working directory. Okay. So maybe if I go and if I type s, here you'll be able to see that. See this one. This is also created today, right? But our model is this one here. This is our final model. And once it is created, maybe I can go and I can try to predict the results. So I can use the model logistic underscore regression dot predict. Logistic underscore regression dot predict. For testing data, we have everyone for testing data. If I go and if I do it, see, this is the classification. First person is non-diabetic, second person is diabetic, third person is non-diabetic, fourth person is non-diabetic, and so on. For all the data which we have in testing, you can check this out here, right? This is how the prediction is. If I want to go and if you want to check the accuracy of my model, that's also possible. Accuracy underscore score for testing data. So y underscore test is original output, and y underscore prediction. Okay, I should be showing. I should have stored this particular output in some variable. Y underscore prediction is equal to this. And then if I go and if I try to check the accuracy of my model, the accuracy of my model is 82%. Right? And if you want to get the confusion matrix, you can get it like this: confusion underscore matrix. And now everyone understand the meaning of the word confusion matrix, right? So y underscore test, comma, y underscore prediction. This is our confusion matrix sequence. Now I hope you understand. True negative, true positive, true negative, false positive, false negative. This is our model. And once you got the confusion matrix, you can find out precision, recall, F1 score, and everything you can find out. This is how logistic regression is going to work. This is how logistic regression is going to work. So any doubt anyone in this case? Any doubt? Like those who are there listening me? Because if you do not have any doubt, we will stop here today. Okay, fine. Because next I will be showing you the end-to-end project only in the last session. And last session is going to be on Monday, everyone, Monday. Okay, directly, not tomorrow. Fine, everyone then. I hope if there is no doubt, we can stop here. So we will meet in the last session. There I will be showing you end-to-end projects. Let me know if you need out anything in the WhatsApp group also. Fine. So, thank you very much. Bye.